In this talk, I'd like you to pretend that you are still in college. You have still not decided on what career to pursue, and that when you do start working, you would like to be an effective altruist, meaning you want to do good to many. And in a sense, you want to use your heart and your head to donate money to effective causes. So, in a sense, you want to do good, live good, and feel good. So, in this talk, my objective is to persuade you that the career that will allow you to achieve that purpose is finance and banking. Now, when you hear the word finance and banking, you're probably thinking of excessive greed, scams, and frauds. And you would be right. But if you fairly weigh the good versus the bad that finance and banking have been responsible for, you would conclude that they have done more good to humanity than bad. So, why finance and banking? The answer is simple: money. You know, hope can't solve major world problems. Wish can't solve major world problems. Pray can't solve major world problems. Money is what solves major world problems. A proof of this is Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Bill and Melinda Gates, along with Warren Buffett, have used their vast amount of wealth for effective causes that have made huge difference in people's lives. The foundation has a motto that says, quote, all lives have equal values, unquote. According to an estimate, they have saved approximately 6 million lives. Now you might be asking, well, look, you don't compare me to some billionaires out there. They have billions of money to donate to effective causes. Actually, you too can be an effective altruist. You don't need to be a billionaire to be an effective altruist, provided you pick the right career. During your career, you'll probably be working approximately 80,000 hours. And the problems that we are dealing with are massive. And let's face it, time is short. But you can make a difference. And the problems are massive and they're not going away. So let's take a look at the problems that we're dealing with here. Global poverty. Did you know that 1.4 billion people live on less than $1.25 a day? That's a candy bar for essentially all of us. Global health. Did you know that 20 million people die every year of preventable diseases such as malaria, tuberculosis, and diarrheal diseases? Factory farming. Did you know that 3 billion land animals, 57 billion birds, and 100 billion fishes are killed for food? A lot of young people find this highly objectionable and are turning to becoming vegans. climate change, if the current trends are not reversed, the estimate to humanity is approximately $7.5 trillion. So these are some massive problems that we're dealing with. So you might be asking, well, who's to blame? I'm not really going to focus a lot on the blame in this talk. There's blame to go around to lots and lots of different people. The chief among them is politics has a lot to do with it. Predation by corporations have a lot to do with it. Excessive greed has a lot to do with it. Lack of concern, commitment, and resolve by nations have a lot to do with it. You know, the top-down approach has led to inaction. So inaction has led to young people taking the bottom-up approach to tackle some of these major problems. But before you can start tackling some of these problems, you need to kind of understand one of the most important decisions you're going to have to make in the next few months or next couple of years is what career to choose. And I'm sure you're getting all kinds of advice from people. One is follow your passion. Now, let me tell you, it sounds like a good advice, but be very careful. People who follow passion don't necessarily make a lot of money to make a huge difference. The ones that give out the advice are the ones who have achieved it, but you never hear from the ones who never make a lot of money following their passion. So you can't be an effective altruist if you follow that advice. But let's put it this way. The chances are not that good if you do that. The second advice you get is do what you're good at. That sounds very simple, but what they're not telling you is that if you want to do good or do what you're good at, you're going to have to become good. That means you're going to have to put in 10,000 hours. You can pick any career and put in 10,000 hours and you'll become good at that. So you want to feel like you are valuable. Now, I'm going to give you an example what the differential is depending on what career that will allow you to do good that people commonly associate with. One is nonprofit. The second one is in healthcare, let's say doctor. And third, most people don't associate with that, is finance and banking. So let's look at nonprofit. Nonprofit, we feel like, hey, we want to be directly involved and help people and make a difference. The problem with that is nonprofit jobs are very hard to get and they don't pay well. According to estimate, a nonprofit job, you will approximately make $2.5 million throughout your career. The thing is that if you didn't go into that job, somebody else who thinks like you would replace you. So the differential is zero. Now let's take a look at becoming a doctor and you go into emergency services where you're good and you can save 10 lives a week. But somebody could easily replace you there too. And let's say if that person isn't as good as you as a doctor in the emergency services and can save 9 lives a week. So the differential there is 1 life a week that you can say that you were able to save because of you being a doctor. And if you spread it out over the entire year, you can say you have saved 50 lives during a year. And that's pretty good. But now let me show you what you can do with finance and banking. In finance and banking, it's estimated you can make between $5 million up to $25 million depending on how high you rise. So there's a lot of money you're making and there's a lot of opportunity to donate that money. But here's the thing you have to consider. If you Do not go into finance and banking and somebody else replaces you who doesn't think like you, who's not an effective altruist. That person isn't going to donate any money. So you have to prevent that from happening. Okay, if I've convinced you that finance and banking is the right field if you want to become an effective altruist, we've taken care of the hard part of this effective altruism. Now comes the head part. Now you have to pick the charity. You know, people are always saying that I would like to donate more if I knew if the charities were effective. So how do you find which charities are effective? The formula that people use commonly are like, oh, they donate like 90% or whatever the number. That's not really a good measure of effectiveness if effectiveness means that is based on how many lives are you actually saving. You can give money to charities and they may not be saving any lives. They might make things better here and there. So let's give you an example. Let's say you have charity A that spends money on training seeing eye dogs versus charity B who don't donates money that takes the money to purchase bed nets and for people so they don't contract malaria from mosquito bites. Seeing eye dog costs approximately $50,000 to improve the quality of life of a blind person. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying you need to know this before you decide which charity is going to allow you to do good to many. The other one, as I pointed out, charity B spends on bed nets, and let's say they're donating 80% and the other one is 90%. Well, that 80%, the differential when you look at it, 50,000, you can purchase 1,000 bed nets that can save essentially 1,000 lives. So there is a huge differential right there. Because you were in finance and banking and you were able to donate $50,000, you were able to save 1,000 lives. That's a lot more than what a doctor can save. Look, you are going to be making an important decision in your life. The career choice you make is going to be very important on whether you can do good, live good, and feel good. Remember, you care about the major world problems we face. You want to make a huge difference in people's lives. You too can be an effective altruist.